In today's video, beginner tips on how to start tracking macros.
All by myself.
Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Revelia from ProPhysique.com, and today's video is a theme of videos that I have been doing in the past. But because I got this question from my Instagram DM, and I realized I've been putting out a lot of videos. I have almost 500 videos on my YouTube channel now. So just because I've covered a subject does not mean that I don't need to cover it again. Things change. I like to update my thoughts and feelings, and so that's what I'm going to do. The question came in on my Instagram DM, and I'll post it here so you can kind of see what he's talking about. Basically, he's asked a friend that he wants to help with nutrition to keep a food journal, and he just wanted to know some basic diet tips to help someone who is a beginner get adjusted to that lifestyle. And so a lot of this experience I take from myself, I take from my friends, I take from clients that I've helped come along. And as you see, I'm wearing a hoodie because it's like 50 degrees today in Florida. It's beautiful out, but it's 50 degrees, which is weird. Florida, you're cold. So what I really want to do is not overwhelm this person. The worst thing you can do for someone that's interested in changing their lifestyle or is already intimidated by the things that you're doing or that they think are going to be very difficult is just throw a bunch of information at them and try to get them on board. Does not work, okay? When someone gets overwhelmed, well, they tend to just quit and go back to what they know. And that's what we want to avoid. We want to kind of ease things in, right? Now, that's not what happened with me. I was given a program with macronutrients and it was sink or swim time. But I had signed up for a bodybuilding competition and I was not about to sink. So I decided to figure that crap out on my own. But my lessons can be beneficial for you and your friend. So here's the first thing. The first thing I would do is just get in the habit for a week of writing down all the things that you eat and drink, okay? Don't overly concern yourself if it's good or bad or what the macros or protein or fiber are. Do not worry about that. That can seem overwhelming. For a beginner, the first step is just getting used to tracking and accountability, okay? What I find with most beginners is once they start that process, if they can for a week, whether it's on their phone in their notes, whether it's on a piece of paper, whether it's an Excel file, whatever kind of keeps them interested in it, they just start writing things down. That starts the accountability. When you see things in writing, you go, man, I didn't realize I ate at that time and that time and that time. I didn't realize I was eating all this food. So maybe their habits will change just from that. Then, once you have that data after a week, the next step is now we track with a data app like MyFitnessPal. The first one I ever used was called FitDay. The best macronutrient tracking app I feel for competitors or those that are very good at tracking or very good at this process is called My Macros Plus. Some of the other ones tend to interfere and try to give you thoughts. MyFitnessPal is probably the best one as far as food library, having restaurants and a lot of things like that in there. MyFitnessPal is probably the best one for those that are experienced. I still use FitDay. I started using it in 2007. It was only a website then. It's now a website and an app. I have hundreds of foods in my food library that I enter. You can create custom food labels based on the things you eat repetitively. The new apps are voice recognition apps. You can take pictures. You can use barcodes at the grocery store, all kinds of things, you know. So there's such an easier way to do it now, and it's just getting over that initial hump, because I think for most beginners, when you start saying things like macronutrients, protein, carbs, fats, fiber, tracking, counting, weighing, they get a little nervous. So the first step is just writing things out for a week. The next step is to start entering the data. So most of us are creatures of habit. So if we get into the habit of eating kind of a similar breakfast each day, well, you can bust out a food scale and you can kind of see how many eggs you're eating. If you're eating 4 eggs, then that's easy. You don't have to weigh that, right? But if you're eating egg whites, you can throw some egg whites on a scale before you cook them. Easy peasy. If you're eating some kind of a fruit, like a banana, if you're eating a bowl of oatmeal, sometimes you won't need to weigh these things. And I wouldn't get into the weighing of things until we need to start teaching someone what portion sizes are. Because a lot of times, you'll look at like a peanut butter jar and you'll say, oh, it's a tablespoon. But if you do a tablespoon like that, it's probably gonna be 2.5 to 3 times an actual tablespoon, right? So that would be, I consider, like an advanced part of this process, okay? The first part is just getting it down on paper, talking it over, looking at it, seeing what you're accountable for during the week. Then we can actually start to learn some nutrition facts. We can start to look at what's the foods that we're eating. Then we want to start to look at our ratios. Our macronutrient ratios are really going to help us with satiety, with body composition, and with keeping calories lower. Most people that I have track their diet for a week and turn in, and I make it very clear to them, do not change what you're doing. I do not care if it's good or bad food or whatever you want to label it as. I just want data. So eat like you normally eat. If you normally go to McDonald's or Burger King or Chipotle or Carvel 6 days a week, go 6 days a week. Don't change because you're being monitored. That's one thing you want to remind them of. We don't want the information to be tainted, okay? So after they've been tracking for a week and you've got some information back, you can help them by going over some data, some nutrition facts. Look at the food they wrote down, come up with some estimates, doesn't need to be exact, come up with some estimates. Most of the time when I do this with someone, I would say almost every time, what I find the highest macronutrient is going to be fats or carbs, the lowest is going to be protein, right? Protein is tough to get. Most places, if you go out to a restaurant, they skimp on protein. Protein has to be cooked, prepared, okay? Has to be prepared right. It's hard to store. Most protein sources are going to be more expensive than carb and fat sources, okay? This is just a generalization, but I usually find that even when people think they have a high protein diet, their carbs and fats still way overpower. So if we can then just start to go, hey, look, your lowest macronutrient is your protein. What if we brought that up to your highest? Well, some fun things happen when protein is higher. We get some benefits like muscle protein synthesis, okay? Which can be good if you're in a training phase or trying to build some muscle or trying to retain some muscle, whatever it is, endurance sport, whatever it is, more protein is generally going to be beneficial. But it has some other benefits, like it has the highest thermic effect of food, meaning for that food to be broken down and used in your body, it requires more calories. Therefore, you're actually technically burning a little bit more calories by eating a higher protein diet, okay? Not gonna be a lot of change there. I'm not expecting miracles, but another best part is satiety, okay? When we eat a higher protein diet, we're gonna feel fuller longer. We're gonna feel better after our meal. We're not gonna have to keep filling ourselves up with junk food to stay full. And that's the trend that I tend to see. When we get the macronutrient ratios proper, well, then we start to see some fun. Now, if you want to get real specific on macronutrient ratios, I have other videos on my channel that get very specific about that. To just give you a very basic guideline, it's going to be about 1 gram of protein per pound, okay? Now, if someone's obese, we're gonna go closer to the lean body mass. If someone's very lean, it might be more than 1 gram per pound, okay? It might be a little higher. But a general rule, so if someone weighs 100 pounds, 100 grams of protein. If someone weighs 200 pounds, 200 grams of protein, just as a general rule. That's a good starting place. You can tinker from there. Then after you've tracked calories for a week, you kind of can see where someone's calories are, right? So you want to make sure that fat intake is going to be 20, 25, maybe 30% of your daily calorie intake. That's just a general rule. We can tinker within there. If someone loves fats, if someone prefers a higher fat diet, we can work on that. Now we know where protein are. Now we know where fat are. We know what our calorie needs are. So we're going to fill in the rest with carbohydrates. I prefer to keep larger carbohydrate meals around my training, okay? I find that I perform better, I recover better, I'm actually hungrier for carbohydrates. I don't generally wake up in the morning and crave carbohydrates, I crave protein and fats. Same thing late at night when I eat at 12, midnight, 1 in the morning, I usually crave protein and fats. So I find that during the day, carbohydrates serve me best for my training purposes. That is just the basics. Now, if you want a free guide, I have a free guide that I give out to beginners, okay? It's just a basic understanding of nutrition and training. It's like a how to join a gym, a basic training program for beginners, and I'm talking about true beginners, people that have never even set foot in a gym. So if you want that, email training@prophysique.com and we'll get that out to you guys and you can look over it, all right? Have a great day. This is Paul from ProPhysique and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.
Yeah.
by myself.